Yo, what up? Welcome to Everything Tupac. I'm your host / moderator, Luis Jimenez, giving you an exclusive on who I think was involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur. While serving time in prison, Tupac signed a 3-album contract with Death Row Records on September 16, 1995, in exchange for the $1 million bond to set Tupac free from prison. October 11, 1995, Tupac was released and became a new member to the Death Row Records family.
The niggas that was down from day one. Welcome to Death Row.
On February 13, 1996, Tupac drops his first album from Death Row Records, All Eyes on Me, a first in hip-hop history to release a double album, selling over 5 million copies, making it quadruple platinum. With Tupac becoming the new focus point to Suge Knight at Death Row Records, starring on numerous movies like Nothing But Trouble, Bullet, Juice, Poetic Justice, Above the Rim, Gridlock, and Gang Related. With all that money coming into Death Row Records, Tupac grows suspicious to the whereabouts of all his money owed to him. David Kenner, an attorney for Death Row Records as well as the artist, became an interest of conflict when it came to the whereabouts of Tupac's money. So what does Tupac do? He creates his own management team, Euthanasia, and was planning on making his own record label, Machiavelli Records.
The label was going to be Machiavelli Records. It already made up the t-shirts. I have a t-shirt to this day. Euthanasia was going to be his new company. He was leaving Death Row. That's why he called an audit. About a week later, my homeboy that I told you was the office manager, he called me up and he said, "Frank, you getting fired." I was like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, you getting fired." I go, "What you talking about?" Like, "Man, Tupac just sent the letter. I got it right here. He goes, I'll make a copy of it and give it to you." Because I got a letter right here that he no longer is requesting right-way security for his security. I was like, "Are you serious?" Like, "Yeah." So I said, "Get the letter from you idle in the morning." "Yeah, get it tomorrow. I'll give it to you." I read the letter. Sure enough, his signature no longer requested security. Just fired David Kenner as his attorney, which was a conflict of interest from the beginning. So when I got the letter, I said, "Pot, that what's going on, man? I heard I'm getting fired." He was like, "What?" He goes, "Said you getting fired?" Said, "I saw the letter that you sent to the office." He goes, "Oh man, don't worry about that, Frank. You going with me?" I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, you going with me. I'm starting my own company, my own record label. My first album I'm putting out is going to be called One Nation, because I'm leaving Death Row."
Yasmin Fula, a business partner of Tupac, mother of Gaddafi, member of the Outlaws, sends a letter to Death Row Records requesting an audit to be done for the money that is owed to Tupac. Entering Death Row Records for an investigation on the whereabouts of Tupac's money, with thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars being stolen from Tupac without his knowledge. And with all this coming to light, creates tension with Tupac, Suge, Kenner, Mr. Right, and the rest of the Death Row artists. And the feud will begin with everyone at Death Row Records. Now Suge and Pac are going at it with threats back and forth.
Word. I'm gonna cut out Machiavelli, and when I cut out Machiavelli, I'm the hell up out of here. You got your money, I don't want nothing else to do with Death Row, I'm out. That's how we left.
So within only 6 months of Tupac being on Death Row Records, only having one album left to complete his obligations on his contract terms with Death Row Records, Suge Knight and the entire Death Row Records, including Kenner and Reggie, all have second thoughts on their love for Tupac. And I believe at that given time, Suge and the entire Death Row felt betrayed by Tupac wanting to leave once he completes his third and final album. So Suge, Kenner, and Reggie Wright Jr. conspire a plan to take out Tupac.
I'm the police! I run shit here! You just live here! Wait, cause I'ma burn this motherfucker down!
I guess the way to sum Reggie up is he was just selfish.
His childhood friendship with Knight was one part of the attraction, but he had one asset that made a relationship with him even more attractive. His father. Reggie Wright Sr. was on the Compton Police Department's gang detail and is still employed by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. Unlike the notorious reputation of his son, Reggie Wright Sr. has remained a well-respected and revered member of the Compton police scene. His father's status as a conduit to the gang population may have given Reggie Jr. a unique first-hand relationship with the same gang leaders that knew his father.
If that's not a conflict of interest, I've never heard one.
Suge Knight, also from Compton, may have seen the opportunity to use Wright's network to his advantage. He would know. He grew up there. A shrewd business move indeed.
In my opinion, Reggie Wright Sr. should have excluded himself from the investigation immediately because it's an obvious conflict of interest. And it was a mistake not to do that. The fact that Reggie Wright Sr. and Reggie Wright Jr. are involved in this case, in my mind at least, creates a classic conflict of interest. And it's something that anyone looking at this case, I think, should be aware of.
So here we have the perfect team to create the perfect murder. And friends of Suge Knight, Reggie, and David Kenner are like people like Lawrence Lango, who's a district attorney back between 93 and 94 and 95, was on Suge's payroll, which has been a reason Suge Knight never went to prison. Lawrence Lango, his daughter, Gina, was the first white girl signed to Death Row Records. We also have Chief of Police Bernard Parks. There was a photograph of Rafael Perez and David Mack with his daughter. And they also know a guy by the name of George Calices, who's the attorney for Club 662, which was a very well-known attorney who was known by Clark County judges to have owed him money. And the judges were in debt in Calice's favor. So what they do is they plan on murdering Tupac Shakur and making it seem as if it was an East Coast, West Coast war rivalry. So with Reggie being a cop, Kenner being an attorney, they know that they need a motive first. So on April 1996, Frank Alexander receives a random phone call from Reggie Wright Jr. saying that Trevon Lane got into a scuffle with some Southside Crips, and a member by the name of Orlando Anderson try to take his death row chain.
In April of 1996, I got a phone call from Reggie one day, and he was telling me that Trayvon, one of the homeboys that hung around the studio, was one of Suge's guys, is what I call him, got into a altercation in the Lakewood Mall in California. And it was at a Foot Locker store. And he went into this Foot Locker. Orlando Anderson was in there, and Death Row people from Death Row, the artists and all of the homeboy securities, whatever you want to call them, they wore this Death Row emblem of the guy in the electric chair. Everybody knows the emblem. Orlando Anderson went up to Trayvon and snatched off his emblem, his chain, and they got into this fight in the Lakewood Mall. And they tore up this Foot Locker with the store that they were in. One thing led to another. Ironically, in September, Orlando Anderson is the gentleman that Tupac got into the altercation with at the MGM.
So later the story had surfaced that Kenner and Reggie Wright Jr. conspired the plan and organized a gang summit meeting to bring the gangs together in disguise to find recruits to their devious murder plan on Tupac Shakur. In August of 1996, Tupac would finish recording his last and final album, Machiavelli, the Don Illuminati, the 7-Day Thing. I believe it was also on September 4th, Tupac and Suge Knight attend the MTV Music Awards in New York, and also they were out there to promote Death Row East. So Suge Knight was really, playing the part, playing the front to Tupac, like as if, he was still on his side. So it was conspired by Suge, Kenner, and Reggie Wright Jr. to take out and kill Tupac Shakur on September 7th in Las Vegas during the Mike Tyson fight. So, not in no exact order, they go and recruit Orlando Anderson, aka Baby Lane. Now, they had already pinned Orlando Anderson as a motive for the entire setup. He would later be, they would also pin him as the patsy in the whole crime of Tupac Shakur as the main suspect. And they also recruit his uncle, Keefe D, who's done business in the past with Sean Combs, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy. And knowing that Orlando Anderson is related to Keefe D, they bring in Keefe D because they know that Keefe D has done business in the past with Puff Daddy, and rumors had circulated that Puff Daddy was offering $1 million bounty on the hit of Tupac or Suge during that era of 96. So Orlando Anderson was recruited to just be at the MGM, and they also recruited the Patton brothers, Malcolm Patton and Danny Whiteboy Patton, who are blood gang members. The reason they recruited the Patton brothers, and the only information they gave them, was to relay information back to the undercover cop that was standing near Orlando Anderson to let Orlando Anderson know just about when Tupac was heading towards his direction. So the Patton brothers were there at the right there where you exit the arena. The Patton brothers were right there waiting for Tupac to come out so they can relay the information back to the undercover officer that was there standing by with Orlando. They also recruited Snoop Dogg's nephew, Donald Smith, aka Little Half Dead. Like I said, nephew of Snoop Dogg. During the gang summit meeting that Reggie and Kenner had conspired, during that time, Donald Smith had stepped up to the plate and was willing to be the dude to actually take out Tupac. Apparently, from what rumors were going around during that time, was that Donald Smith goes by the name Little Half Dead, and apparently, according to a letter that was later released, Donald Smith had written a song about this woman throwing her baby in the trash can, and apparently gave the demo to Tupac to review to help him come up as an artist. But apparently Tupac stole his idea and made his own version and made Brenda's Got a Baby. So Donald Smith sort of like had a grudge on Tupac and was willing to go ahead and take him out.
I thought Andre did all the music, all the beats. All right, whoop. You know what Eric told me? People send our demos in. Andre redo them. We redo the raps.
Yeah.
That's the song.
All right. Trevon Lane was also part of the conspiracy. He grew up with Reggie Wright. Trevon Lane has been a well-known Blood member, really good friends. He grew up with Suge and Reggie. He's hung out with Suge Knight for a very long time. He, like I said, he's been good friends with Reggie as well. He's the one that actually, him and Reggie agreed to apparently fabricate a story of the Lakewood Mall incident where Trevon got his chain snatched by Orlando Anderson. But if you really think about that story, Trevon Lane was apparently, according to the story, Trevon Lane was with Death Row Security, you know, the dudes that came out of prison like Buntry and Mob James and all those dudes were all hanging out with Trevon during that time. I don't think they would give Orlando Anderson the opportunity to snatch his chain and then go and beat him up afterwards. You know, I think they would go ahead and stomp on Orlando before even giving him the chance to take a death row chain from Trevon Lane. And Trevon Lane's objective to the whole plan was to make sure he whispered in Tupac's ear, not letting anybody know, because he just wanted Tupac to react and nobody else that was around him to know what was happening. So Trevon whispers in Tupac's ear that Orlando Anderson, the same dude that took his death row medallion, is just around the corner over there. And so Tupac took it upon himself to go handle his business. And Trevon Lane's other mission was to make sure to let everybody know that it was Orlando Anderson who shot and killed Tupac. Also with police officers, friends of Reggie Wright Jr. like Kevin Gaines and Mac and Perez were all in Las Vegas that night during Tupac's murder, who all knew to be crooked cops.
Of course, not all of the police hired by Reggie Wright were model citizens. The arrests of David Mack and Rafael Perez showed a new level of corruption in the LA Police Department, and both were on death row's payroll.
So we all know that Tupac didn't even want to go to Vegas after, he's been arguing back and forth with Suge about his money. And, with him arguing with Snoop and Daz and Corrupt, the whole Dog Pound with Nate Dogg and everybody, he felt like, fuck Death Row, he was about to cut out and, start Machiavelli Records,
It was before he went to New York that he was thinking about starting Machiavelli Records.
When I cut out Machiavelli, I'm the hell up out of here. You got your money, I don't want nothing else to do with Death Row, I'm out. That's how we left that day. Mr. Knight was very upset, and they got to yelling at each other back and forth. They confronted each other, basically to a face-to-face. I did slide in between them and said, hey, you can't do this while I'm here, or I am gonna have to step out of the room. Normally, I am asked in every situation that I can remember while working with Death Row, when there was altercations, fights, or some type of discipline was going to be passed out during Death Row, I'm usually asked to step outside the room. But on this occasion, I think Mr. Knight had me stay for the safety of Tupac. I mean, that's the reason I was there, because I think Mr. Knight, with me not being there, he would have put his hands on me. He was that upset. He told us that he was not going there with, his words, them sellout niggas.
I was told by another one of our security guards that was a bodyguard that he had escorted Pac to the airplane as they were leaving New York, and Tupac told him, specifically told him, that he was a dead man walking.
The last thing he said to me prior to leaving was, he's not going to be in Vegas, I don't have to worry about him showing up, and don't worry about it because he won't be there.
You didn't feel like you didn't want to go to Vegas, I don't even think he wanted to do the video.
I think Tupac wanted to leave, and I don't think Death Row wanted him to go.
But Suge and everybody that was in on it did everything they could to try to convince Tupac that they would go ahead and look in on his money situation and kind of guarantee him that they would get it resolved and that he had nothing to worry about, to just come to Vegas. Little did Pac know he was being set up. Well, Tupac arrives at the MGM. There's already a confusion on who's going to be security for Tupac. Story goes, Reggie Wright Jr. had called upon a private meeting to all security and bodyguards, and to make sure that they're disarmed and that they did not have their firearm with them. Michael Moore, who was one of the bodyguards who was supposed to be there with Tupac that night, was called by Reggie and pulled off of Tupac after knowing that Michael Moore would not give up his firearm. So what Reggie did was pulled off Michael Moore and told Michael Moore that he needed him to be security at Club 662, and for Frank Alexander to go ahead and stay on with Tupac. Suge usually has tickets for everybody. Suge Knight tells Pac that he only had a ticket for him, and that the Outlaws were not able to get in with him. Neither were some of the other groupies, and some other people were not able to go in to the fight. Sort of like dividing Tupac's group, leaving Tupac alone. After the Tyson fight, Tupac is so hyped. He was so pumped up, all excited, talking about anybody that gets out of jail has good luck, referring to him. it was just a perfect distraction for Pac, you know. He just didn't even think about being set up at that time. Little did he know, the plan was in action. Orlando was moving into position as he was being told. Trayvon Lane was ready to make his move. You had the Patton brothers keeping a close eye, keeping in contact with Tupac's whereabouts, letting Kevin Gaines or whoever that undercover officer was right there with Orlando, letting him know when Pac was about to come out. Trayvon Lane then goes and whispers in Tupac's ear, lets Tupac know that the guy that tried to snatch his death row chain is just in the lobby, just around the corner over there. So Tupac rushes over there, confronts Orlando Anderson, gets in a fight with Orlando Anderson. You can see on the MGM footage, the whole entourage then comes in and attacks Orlando. You can see that undercover officer right there that had been communicating with Orlando, just observing them beat up Orlando. Later, you also see that same undercover officer watching Orlando Anderson being questioned by the Las Vegas police, then leaving the scene after seeing Orlando Anderson being escorted out by some unknown individual, possibly Suge's brother-in-law, Norris Anderson, the owner of the black BMW Suge Knight was driving when Tupac was assassinated, acting as his parole officer, taking Orlando Anderson away to deal with the situation. They all meet back at the strip where Tupac has no idea that he had just got played and suckered in on fighting with Orlando Anderson and getting him set up in his own murder. It was the perfect setup. Everything was in order, but he was in place as they're heading down Las Vegas Boulevard. They get approached and stopped by the bicycle police. And Suge Knight gets out of the BMW. They pop open the back trunk. And Suge and the bike police have some type of exchange of words. I'm not sure what was said. Apparently, Suge is claiming that they got pulled over for their music being loud. Or was it the green light from Suge Knight to proceed on the assassination of Tupac Shakur? Because just within a few more minutes, as Suge Knight and Tupac proceed down Las Vegas Boulevard and make that right turn on Flamingo, one of Reggie Wright's security cuts in front of Suge before stopping on Flamingo in Koval, where then Trayvon pulls up to the left of Suge Knight, white Cadillac, to come along and complete the box where they're boxed in now to complete the assassination on Tupac Shakur.
How you feel about the people that say you was using Tupac as a shield when the BMW was getting shot?
First of all, even though it was one of my undercover cars, I don't ride in cheap shit, all the little shit. I'm a grown-ass man.
Which is vehicle to the left of him. We got vehicle number 2, which is found in the skirt. We got vehicle number 3, a suspect vehicle. The suspect vehicle pulled up in close proximity, if I remember correctly. It was probably a foot and a half away when he pulled up. The suspect, as the vehicle pulled up, the driver came out, arm came out, point blank. Their car was approximately 2 or 3 feet ahead of Shook's car, whereas there's no way possible the shooter he would have got his intended target. Okay? That's just reality.
Even Shook though, I mean,
that's what I'm saying. The neighbor stopped right here. The car was stopped. The suspect vehicle pulls up alongside. There was no one. The suspect vehicle was in the number 3 lane, correct? There's a number 2 lane. They're in number 3 lane. Suspect vehicle pulls up ahead of the BMW, which was stopped, also blocked in by a car. So there was no way possible to let a gun out the window right here at an angle. We're right here, pulling right up, boom, boom, boom. You're gonna hit the target. You're not gonna hit this. You're not gonna hit with the glasses.
there's no way possible. He was grazed.
He was not grazed. There was glass fragment. Glass from his windshield cut in the head.
On September 8, 1996, Suge Knight does not go to his home to rest. Instead, he does a strange thing. He leaves town. Trayvon also leaves town. Suge Knight and Trayvon go back to LA. Their goal, start a cover story and a gang war.
Let's just say threw off the trail. The Compton killings that occurred thereafter after Tupac was shot was just a diversion to make, general public, law enforcement believe it was a blood crip thing. When it was all orchestrated.
Malcolm Greenidge said he could identify the shooter. We finally tracked him down to set up a re-interview. And he says, I'm not going to look at any photos because I can't identify him. Yeah, we got beat up in the LA Times over that. And I'm thinking, okay, put up or shut up, Ace. And, well, but again, Reggie Wright Jr. is the one that brought him to that interview. Other witnesses, though, who have since ended up deceased, that we attempted to talk to that night, refused to talk to us. McDonald didn't have anything he wanted to say to us. Now he's dead. People that we talked to during an investigation in California, they're dead. I mean, yeah, a lot of people have died that were directly or indirectly linked to this investigation. So we would try to get in touch with people, and you'd have to go through Death Row Records or whomever to try and locate them. And we tried to reach out to re-interview Yafu Fula through Death Row Records, Death Row attorneys. And we kept getting the runaround, yeah, we'll get you in touch with him. Yes, we'll do this, yes, we'll do that. There are new investigators here in Las Vegas.
Anything goes down with Suge, you know who's gonna run this company? Reggie. Wrong. What do you mean, Death Row? He would much rather see it turn over to Reggie. Nope, wrong, because then everything comes back on Reggie, right? Everything is pointed at Reggie. That's pressure Reggie can't handle. Treat it on the paper. Yeah, Reggie would carry most of the burden. Man, I can't see it. I cannot see that. I can't see that. And you know who I got that from? A good source, a family member. A family member.
Maria?
Reggie's dad.
Reggie's dad.
Reggie's dad told me that.
Wow.
He said, Michael, if anything happens to Suge, that's what he told me. Anything happens to Suge, Reggie would run the majority of the company. And I said, even over Sharita? He goes, trust me. Reggie, you know why? One thing Suge does is trust Reggie. He does. I'm gonna tell you, Reggie fucked that whole shooting deal up. All that shit was Reggie's fault. Reggie was the one that wasn't with Suge. Reggie was the one who, I was at the hospital when Suge called Reggie in there. You see what I'm saying? I was there. that came from Reggie. Now,
Suge Knight's prison has come back, giving us permission to film. But I'm having problems with Death Row, who I'm having to negotiate with to interview Suge Knight. I'm dealing with this man, Reggie Jr., seen here second left, who's been running Death Row since Suge Knight's been in prison. Reggie Jr. is the son of Reggie Sr., who we'd so much admired and interviewed in Compton. Reggie Jr. had followed in his father's footsteps and also became a police officer before running Death Row. I remembered what Hackey had said about Reggie Jr. They'd served as Compton police officers together.
If Reggie and I ever met one-on-one, I think it would probably be who's going to draw first. About 15 minutes before.
15 minutes prior, was he panicked?
Yes, he was. He was nervous. He was... I have never seen... I've been on a street situation when we were police officers with Reggie. I mean, looking for armed suspects. And he's never been this nervous before.
Okay. That's deep. So, did you know at that time that they weren't allowed to carry guns? Or did you find out following?
No, at that time when I spoke to Reggie, no. I mean, I found out several hours later from another officer, LAPD officer who's no longer with us, Rich McCullough, that something was up. It's funny, told him, and he told everybody they're not supposed to carry guns. 3 months prior to that, in June of '96, myself, Tupac, Suge, Reggie, and a couple of homeboys, we were there in Vegas for the fights. Tupac rode with me the whole time. When he was with me, I always made him wear a bulletproof vest. He always knew when he was with me, he had to wear the vest. He always knew I had 2 guns on him. So God forbid something happens to me, you do what you gotta do at that point in time. He always knew that. We rode around the city. Convertible, no problem, this and that. Reggie and I rode around together a couple of times. And, it was just in a sense you start getting a funny feeling. Here it was 3 months before. It's just us down there. And then about a week or 2 weeks before he was shot, the incident up in Hollywood, and I was out there by myself and all the sheriffs rolled out. So when you think this is their #1 artist, he's as high profile as they get. And you're paying for all the security. You got all these guys at the club. Something's wrong. The pieces of this whole situation, it just doesn't fit. But I think at the end of the day, ultimately, Reggie is and will be the fall guy at the end of the day. And Reggie was, I could tell, I know Reggie well enough, and I know you well enough, that he was agitated or something in his voice. As I said, it's about 15 minutes before. And so, lo and behold, obviously this incident occurs. And my statement to him is, why would you just have Frank with him when you got all these other cops? You just don't know. And one thing I knew, obviously this whole thing was starting to fall apart. And like I said, at one point or another, Reggie and I were like brothers. At one point or another, there's nothing I wouldn't do for Reggie. And I think vice versa at one time. But Reggie always told me he was so far in now, there's no way to turn it around. Obviously I knew what he meant.
I understand.
And, even today as I'm sitting here, Reggie knows how to get a hold of me. And I'm probably only the last person at this point in time that could save me. And I say that with everything. I say that with everything I have. I'm probably the only last person today that could save me.
You know very little about Marion Suge Knight's partner in business. There are no pictures of this man circulating on the internet. He's a man in the shadows. That man's name is Reginald Wright Jr. Reggie Wright Jr. was clearly at the middle of the entire orchestration of the assassination, to be sure. However, one must look at the other elements that would have been involved. Reggie Wright Jr. was a former Compton police officer. His record as a police officer was short and unremarkable.
Reggie Wright used to work for Compton PD, yes. I know he had some type of medical retirement running Right-Way Security. He was not working for Compton PD.
I have no relationship with Reggie Wright at this time, nor do I plan to.
I'm thinking immediately, these sons of bitches, let him up. Wholeheartedly. just cops and tuition. Okay, and being a police officer, detective, what do you want to call it, crime just solved by bullshit and experience. Okay, and that was 100% experience right there. I know them something but guilty. I know it.
My impression, my opinion of Reggie Wright Jr. was he's employed by Death Row Records to do a certain job. He's going to do what his employer has him do. He's going to divulge what they want released to the police and withhold things that maybe they don't want released.
But I'm even willing at this point in time to put up my own money, $100,000. You say you had nothing to do with Tupac shooting, Christopher Wallace shooting. You take a polygraph. I'll set you up with a place. You take a polygraph. And if you had nothing to do with it, my God, it'll be on the 6 o'clock news. I will give you $100,000. The world knows I will give you $100,000 of my own money.
A multi-state drug ring with ties to multiple gangs and a Mexican cartel busted up in Memphis.
We're talking about 22 people were indicted this morning. The charges, and there are plenty of them, include drugs and money laundering.
Police confiscated more than 46 pounds of drugs. We have also learned the bus netted members of both the Grape Street Crips and the Petterol Mafia gangs.
Fox 13's chief investigative reporter Jim Spiewak live downtown. And Jim, this investigation just didn't happen overnight.
Fast forward to today, we now know 22 people have been indicted. 16 of those people we know live right here in the Mid-South. Federal prosecutors are accusing 22 gang members of shipping money through the mail from Memphis, 1,800 miles away to Los Angeles, California. Prosecutors go on to allege meth, heroin, cocaine, pills, and pot were all sent back to be sold here. It's a case acting U.S. Attorney Larry Lorenzi calls unusual.
The drugs that were sent to Memphis was a smorgasbord of drugs.
Investigators say 17 of the people are members of the Memphis Petterol Mafia, a local street gang that sells several kinds of drugs. The investigation started years ago when police found out gangs were selling drugs around the Bella Vista apartments. The investigation picked off at least one top-level OG.
It has stopped the pipeline where drugs freely flowed between California and Memphis.
Also indicted was Eric Avendado, who investigators say is connected to a Mexican cartel, but would not say which one.
They are using.
So there you have it. Thank you for watching Everything Tupac. Giving you an exclusive opinion on who I believe was involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur in 1996. You make your own call. You make your own judgment. That's just my personal opinion throughout the years from everything that I've seen and heard. Just want to put it out there so you guys know, and you guys know the information that I have heard, and now you can hear it and you can decide for yourself. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Peace.